Hey, everybody. Northeast Ohio. Here for some more NBA offseason talk. So, what I want to do today, just kind of have a little chat, just talk through some things, some thought processes, some stuff that I'm thinking about as we head into this, what is going to be an absolutely wild next 2-ish weeks when it comes to NBA offseason news. Essentially everything that would get stretched out over a month plus before is basically going to get condensed down to about 7 to 10 days. We are already starting to see all the trade rumors and speculations flying, guys wanting out, Russell Westbrook, Drew Holiday. The list goes on and on as teams start to sling deals once the moratorium is lifted, which I believe is 2 days before the draft. So early next week, this stuff's going to start happening, and it's going to happen fast. These teams haven't been able to make trades in months, almost 7-8 months now since they've been able to make a trade, since February, 10 months almost. So we are about to get slammed with news, and just think of this like a fantasy owner would. Every time a player gets dealt or a team does something, it's going to open up an opportunity or shift something, both for the team that the player is going to and for the players left behind. Now, this is going to be a little bit trickier because we're not seeing the whole picture. Like if the Pelicans trade Drew Holiday and they don't get back a replacement for him directly, does that open up more playing time for someone, or they still have free agency in the draft to fix that hole? So do they fill it in? So I think there's going to be real potential to make some smart buys here over the next few weeks. It's going to be a little riskier, though, because you're going to be more speculating. We're going to talk about some of those guys today on a couple. There's 3 specific teams I am really focused in on in regards to the rumored to be making moves and how it could impact things. And those are the Suns, the Hawks, and the Thunder are the 3 that intrigue me the most. 2 of those are teams that are looking to get into the playoffs, and 1 is looking to go into a rebuild. So the Suns are rumored to be getting, or in the front running for CP3 potentially. The Hawks are in the market potentially for Drew Holiday. Today it came out that maybe he's going to Boston. Maybe the Hawks are going after Jarrett Culver. Regardless, the Hawks are looking to make a move to upgrade that roster to get them in the playoff contention. And then the Thunder are looking to trade CP3, and I forget Gallinari's status, but I don't believe he'll be back. He either opt out or they would sign and trade him or something. So they're looking to rebuild. So every time one of these moves happens, immediately think about who does this help on the team that it's leaving regarding minutes, regarding playing time, and is it someone that we should be buying into? The perfect example of this, and I wasn't planning on starting with this player, but I think this makes the most sense, is the Thunder. And that is, we've talked about this guy a lot on the channel. I am really high on him, and that's Darius Baisley. Darius Baisley showed some real flashes in the bubble, and he is just a scoring machine. He looked great, and he's their young core. He's the guy that's not going to be going anywhere. So assuming they trade CP3, which is probably going to happen, and Gallinari is gone, that should, in theory, open up a ton of playing time for Baisley. And playing time means, or minutes means stats, and stats usually dictate card value. If he starts blowing up and dropping 20 or 25 a night. We're not so much going to talk about pricing per se. This is going to be a little bit different talk for me. Usually I like to show you guys a lot of data and make comparisons like that. This is going to be a little bit more speculative than normal. But I have his silver up here. They're going for about $40 right now. And this is just raw, ungraded. There's not a lot of graded stuff that is on the market. But I really think anything Baisley, Prism, or Optic is a good way to go. Prism Silvers, Prism Base, Prism Variations. When you're looking at lower end guys like this, and some of his stuff can get pretty pricey, but $40 for a Prism Silver is reasonable enough. But when you're looking at lower end guys like this, I would honestly stick to Prism as much as possible. Maybe like some optic hollows or select courtsides or something. If you're going to go to the lesser brands, go for the ones that are more in demand, like optic hollows, like courtsides, etc., stuff like that. And it will cost you a little bit more to get in, but yeah, Darius Baisley is a big one. To back him up, where did I throw his chart at? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander also really intrigues me on the Thunder. I already have a few of his base cards. I have at least one PSA 10. Potentially another one on the way. I have 2 sent out to PSA right now. So I don't know that I'm necessarily looking to buy Shai, but I am intrigued by holding Shai. He's not one that I would want to sell probably right at the beginning of the season. CP3 is going to be gone. If they get Rubio back, Rubio is not going to be eating up a ton of shots. And Shai should be able to put up really big numbers. Shai, whatever. But these are the things that I think you want to be thinking about. And I'd be curious if there's any one of these guys that you're on the fringe of, or you think could get a big jump depending on an offseason move. Let me know down below. These are just some of the guys that I'm thinking about. Going along with that, let's flip back and talk about the Suns. The Suns are going to be looking to make a deep playoff run, and that is good for Devin Booker stuff. Devin Booker is extremely trendy name in the hobby. He was kind of, I don't want to say forgotten about, and then Gary Vee shined the spotlight on him and his card prices went nuts, and then he went nuts in that run up to try to make the playoffs for the Suns. His stuff is pretty pricey. This is a 30-day chart for him, and you can see his PSA 10 and his PSA 9 are both up over 30%. His right now, PSA 9 would probably be my favorite buy between the two. But if I was looking for something higher end, I would not hesitate on the PSA 10 if I had the money. There's also not a lot of options. Pop count on these are extremely low, if that's your thing. But if they get like a CP3, I could see an immediate price bump coming to Booker, as that elevates them as being more potentially a playoff team. And then if they start the season off hot, that would also go along with that. Now, I think, and I don't have all these cards pulled up, but the Suns in general really intrigue me. I really like Cam Johnson. And I don't know what would be involved in the CP3 trade, but if Kelly Oubre stays there, he's intriguing. I don't know that I want to invest a bunch of money into him, but he at least intrigues me. That being said, if he goes to the Thunder, I would be intrigued by Oubre's cards on the Thunder, because he would basically be their starter along with Baisley and Shai and Rubio, and most likely Steven Adams, and probably get an insane amount of run. The other Sun that I think is really in play, and his prices are a little bit more reasonable, is Ayton. Big guys typically their card prices don't go as crazy as guards do. It's kind of always been that way. Jokic is kind of like the one example that that's not the case for. His prices got pretty decent, but compared to the numbers that they put up, they're just not, they don't have as high of a ceiling as like a Booker or a Lillard or a LeBron or a KD or something like that. It's just always been that way. And I don't know that I see that changing. Even last year's wild market, the big guys' prices were still depressed compared to their guard counterparts. But Ayton, his PSA 10, PSA 9, PSA 10 for him is only going for about $125, and PSA 9 for $45. I love both those prices. I think both those are extremely reasonable, even upwards of 150-ish, which is where Ayton's been sitting. But anywhere in that price range, I think is good. You could see here he was dipping down a little bit and went back up, and the 9's been trending down a little bit. But with CP3 on that team, if that ends up happening, I really like Ayton to see a nice price bump. Both off the hype of the roster getting better and just as a general player to hold throughout this upcoming season. I don't have any graded Ayton right now, but I do have quite a few raw prisms of 8, and I don't think any of them the centering is quite good enough to sneak through a PSA for maybe a 9. But I think Aiton is another really good guy to potentially go out and target on these up and coming / trendy teams, the buzzy teams. I feel like his stuff is still pretty undervalued relative to what the rest of the market is doing right now. Next, the Hawks, the last one on our list of the 3. Of course, Trae Young is the obvious one. Anytime you talk about the Hawks, his prices have really started to trend up this last couple weeks. He'll probably end up being on Sunday's week in review video, but his prices have really started to ramp. I think he's up almost 20 or 30% over the last 30 days, and he's doing good 5 to 10% jumps pretty much weekly right now at this point, as he is getting a lot of buzz. And if they get Drew Holiday, that would be a really nice fit next to Trae, both defensively and offensively. Or if they get something else, I think they are 100% going to make a move to make a major upgrade to that roster to fill a potential hole to give Trae another running partner. Who that is, I don't know. Drew would be nice. The other deal that was getting talked around was like Jarrett Culver and some picks or something. That one wouldn't be as flashy, but that would just basically be looking to bring in some extra defensive help, since that's where the Hawks lack a lot. But really, anything Trae Young rookie year, I would be looking at heavily right now. His select, his optic, his prism, maybe even some revolution, all that stuff I think is on the table, as he could be poised for a monster season. Whether the Hawks make the playoffs or not, I don't know. But if Trae Young stays healthy, he is going to put up absolutely huge numbers every single night. That is just a fact. He is a scoring machine. And last but not least, also on the Hawks, is Mr. John Collins. Extremely low pop count on his PSA 10, only at 280. And these things go for about 130 to 150 bucks. His prices have actually been trending down as well. He's like 20 and 10 guaranteed. He was hurt for a lot of last season, so I think people have kind of forgotten about him. But he could put up big numbers. Once again, big guys don't have quite the ceiling, but I think his prices are a little bit too cheap, especially for what they are looking to do. And there's not a lot of options to get in on him, just because the pop counts are so low. You might want to look at some optic or select with him as well, just because the pop counts on the PSA 10 are so low. But so that's what you guys need to be thinking about, and that's what I'm thinking about right now, is anytime you see, as these trades start to fire off, who would you think of it like this? Who would you want to pick up in the fantasy league, especially if it's someone younger? If Gallo is gone, that opens the doorway for Baisley. And these are just the 3 teams that we're talking about. I'm sure there's a bunch of trades that are going to happen that nobody saw coming. So reacting to that news quickly is going to be key if it affects players that are trending in the sports card market. I think we're going to see a lot of price fluctuations next week as this transaction / silly season ramps up. This is typically when NBA is at its peak. NBA Twitter, as it's called, begins firing on all cylinders with all this rumor stuff, and trades in the transaction market is like the pinnacle of the NBA. And we haven't seen that since the card market has gone crazy. So no one really knows how that's going to affect it. I'm just speculating that there's going to be price swing overreactions to this stuff. And maybe some players slip through the cracks that get forgotten about, like a Baisley. Once again, I keep going back to him because he's like the prototypical example for this. He just fits the formula the best. They are a team that is transitioning to rebuilding and is going to be looking to move older assets for younger guys to earn playing time. To me, he fits that to the T. But there are probably a bunch of other guys out there that I'm just not thinking of or haven't put the time in, or that we just aren't even going to expect, because some team out of nowhere is going to make a monster trade. And it's more about think about the pieces that are being left behind, not so much the flash of the trade going forward. We talked about it earlier, Drew Holiday. If Drew Holiday gets dealt, depending on what they fill back in with, it could open up playing time for Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who I've talked about on the channel before. Every time he gets playing time, he puts up monster scoring numbers. So if there's a path for him getting additional playing time, I like that. That's good. So if I see that open up, I will start to buy more of his stuff. And I have a decent portion of his stuff. I have a few Prism Silvers and some other odds and ends. Nothing crazy, nothing graded. But on these lower end guys, this is how you work the margins to build your bankroll if you're just starting out. So, like I said, just some kind of rambling / general thoughts on this upcoming off-season news landslide we're about to get in. Because I'm just genuinely curious, one, of your guys' thoughts, and two, how is this going to affect the sports card market? Because we just haven't seen this yet. This new NBA market world that we live in has never had an NBA transaction season to go with it. So what happens? Where does it go? How crazy does it get, or does it not get crazy at all? We'll see. We shall see. So that's all I got for you guys today. Next video will be assuming UPS does what it's supposed to do. I have a PSA submission return video that I should have Friday afternoon. So depending on what time I get it, I will probably record that and put it out Saturday morning, most likely. UPS tends to deliver late in the day to me, so I probably won't have it in time to get a video shot, recorded, and uploaded for Friday night. So I'll probably try to get it all done and ready to publish Saturday morning. So that'll be the next big thing coming out, is a PSA submission mail day review / reveal, whatever you want to call it. A 15 card economy order. Was actually one of the earlier videos I did on the channel. So there is a video going over what was in that submission. And there's some pretty good stuff in there. A lot of mosaic. And we'll get into all that details tomorrow. How many days it took. Are they pop controlling? How the old PSA 10s, the 9s, and all that shenanigans go, especially on mosaic. So, and then Sunday morning we'll have the normal week in review videos. So those are the next couple things coming from me. So, click the YouTube nonsense down below, like, sub, comment, all that jazz, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.